lose any sleep over it. I know this. I think they're both talented.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receivers. 7 bona fide pass targets, Gil. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf
Is it green light or red light that I'm looking at? Green.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. I'm Kasey Hudson, and I hope you guys are already having a fantastic week. But if you are not, we're about to make it that much better here on SportsGrid. We've got a lot to run through, but I told you guys last week I was pretty excited about this U.S. Open action. Plenty to get to as we run through that slate. A few upsets in the beginning of the tournament, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some underdogs. I've got a couple underdogs that I want you guys to keep a close eye on, or as my creative producers mentioned, canines. But we're going to get into all of that later on here on SportsGrid TV. Now, of course, college football is in action. NFL Week 1 is around the corner, and we've got a lot of baseball. We've got fantastic guests to break down all of the top games. Plus this WNBA slate, we've got Kate Constable coming on. We've got James Young, or Coach, as I love to holler his name. And then, of course, we've got Adam Kaufman to break down his MLB Wednesday winners. So much to run through here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid TV. But starting off by letting us all know where we stand when it comes to the MLB games before we get to my favorite plays of the night. We got the Cubs that went for a win versus the Pirates 14-10. This was a bit of a runner and a run down, but you would think that this was kind of a home run derby kind of situation with the way this score racked up, but that was not the case. Only one home run on the charts for the Cubs side, and that's going to be Bethancourt picking up just one, but it was Smiley that actually did pretty well on the mound for the Cubs. 5 strikeouts there to help out his team. Then moving through the slate for games that are already in the bag, you got the Guardians winning 7-5. And then you've got the Astros currently top of the 8th, leading the Phillies 7-0. Tampa Bay Rays falling short to the Mariners 5-2, top of the 7th inning right now. And then, as I mentioned, we've got a long slate ahead to get into with Adam Kaufman and company later on. Now, as for our MLB, or not MLB, as for our WNBA, Sun versus Fever, there's going to be a lot of fun action and statistics to get into for this matchup. Mystiques versus the Sky. This is going to be an interesting one to break down, so I'm glad that we've got James Young and Kate Constable to walk us through it. Liberty versus the Sparks close out the night, and then, well, alongside of the Dream and the Storm. But I promised you guys that I had some favorite plays of the night for a number of reasons. So he's very consistent. Not to mention is that the last 3 times these two have showed off for one another, it's been Fritz to take the win and to take the first set. He's really good at setting the tone, forcing his opponents to adjust to their game, and then maybe drops a second set. But Fritz is very mentally tough, which is what keeps him coming on the outside with a W very consistently. So I love this for my first bet of the night, sitting at plus 104. My next one's going to be Juan Soto for a home run. Look, has this guy not been probably one of the most tremendous players on the Yankees roster outside of the Aaron Judge conversation? Absolutely. Is he getting enough roses? Just about. But when you're talking about going up against like a pitcher like Mackenzie Gore, somebody who allowed the Braves to rally back into a game, a guy who could potentially let up a number of home runs, why not have Juan Soto in this category to grab a home run tonight and just continue his success along the way? That one felt pretty simple to me. And the Nationals record at home, not the sexiest record. Yankees record on the road, a lot more flattering, and they need to get the win tonight. So have Juan Soto hit one out of the park. Then for my next one, it's going to be Aaliyah Boston to record a double-double. Statistically, she's been tremendous for her team. And then looking at the matchup for tonight, as I mentioned for the WNBA, she's going to be one of those people to help move the milestone along. Sun have claimed all 10 matchups between the Sun and the Fever, and she's somebody who plays extremely well, hits these categories very well. Recently, it looks like the Sun can continue to stack on this matchup, and as I mentioned, she's somebody who's favorably in that helping category. But I do have some other player prop bets within that matchup because there's a lot to get into. I'm not going to leave out the Fever. We can't not talk about what they've done and how they've produced, and that the fact that they might be a top 5 scoring team. But that's not where I'm going with this. No, it's their third quarter rallies very specifically that I like for my play card tonight. Fever third quarter winner plus money, plus 110. They've shown consistently how they can control a third quarter. And I love these breakdowns when you're looking at matchups and looking at easy money to grab, because sometimes these games can waver one way or another. The spread's not massive here. It shows you can be really anybody's game. A lot of people are kind of favoring the underdog in the Fever Sun matchup. So why not look at where the Fever have been very consistent? And that's also within third quarter. So I like that. And then to cap off my card, it's going to be De La Cruz to record a stolen base. This one's more for fun, but I see it happening. When I looked at the pitching matchup, I wavered ever so slightly. But then to think about Vito on the mound, he's delivered A's to, I want to say, 2 to 3 starts as of late, and he can be quite consistent. But De La Cruz's ability to steal the bases, I think he's 1 or 2 in the MLB for stolen bases, and the way that the mound and they're going to work their bullpen tonight, I think that he can grab one, and that's coming in at plus money at plus 205. So threw that one in for fun. My MLB bets as of late have actually been pretty fire, so I want to stick with that. So that's my 5 for the night. Now, getting back to the MLB slate, outside of my card, we've got the Athletics versus the Reds, which I just kind of touched on. Considering the Athletics on the money line, we'll get more insight on that down the stretch. I also like the under 10 total here. I mentioned the pitching matchup. I think that that's going to kind of control the runs a little bit more outside of De La Cruz, hopefully. But outside of that, I can't imagine these two teams racking up to a 10 total. Then you got Brent Rooker to record a hit versus the Reds. This one kind of just seemed like a shoo-in for me. Not to mention is that through the pitching matchup and through what he's delivered for his team, it's going to work out in the sense that I think that he's going to have a better matchup to help the Reds try to pull this one off. Even though I have the Athletics on the money line, you got to have somebody to help keep them in contention. Moving to the Yankees versus Nationals, outside of Juan Soto hopefully grabbing a home run for us tonight, and check out some specials on that one. I got Aaron Judge to grab an RBI. He has played tremendously well versus Mackenzie Gore. Statistically, at the base 3 different times, he's grabbed an RBI 5 different times, and he's playing extremely well, and the Yankees need a win. This just kind of feels like a lock-in down for Aaron Judge. Now, we were talking about the U.S. Open and how things were moving along there. We're hopefully going to be seeing a Ben Shelton versus Francis Tiafoe this Friday. Tiafoe secured his W earlier in the day, and he did so in very calm fashion. We haven't seen him completely exploit his powerful energy on the hard court yet, but he's going to have to reserve that because him and Ben Shelton have seen each other once before when it comes to trying to move in the rankings and move past one another in the U.S. Open. And Ben Shelton gave Big Foe a run for his money. So this is going to be a great rematch to potentially see down the line as Ben Shelton is working through his game right now. Last I saw, he was sitting on top looking to secure the move forward with a W as well. So As you guys know, for hard courts, it comes down to those powerhouses. And we've got two magnificent powerhouses between Shelton and Big Bo. And then something else that we'll get into a little bit later, you got Badosa that moved forward earlier today, getting past Taylor Townsend. And she did so with flair, collecting massive points when it came to her first serve. So as I mentioned, you don't want to go anywhere because we've got more U.S. Open to get into. We've got more NFL to get into. We've got MLB, and then we've got two tremendous guests to break down the WNBA. So go nowhere. Stay with us here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid TV. On the other side, we've got James Young.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And as promised, we got to get into this WNBA slate. And who better to chat with us than James Young or Coach? As I mentioned, I just love yelling, Coach. What's going on, Coach? How's your Wednesday going? Because we got some Wednesday winners to get into for your play card tonight.
It's going great. I know you got Adam Kaufman. I know Kate's outstanding. You got Brady. You got Wetzel. But let me step up first to the foul line and knock down some free throws nice and easy. Let's see, Kasey, if we can give some winners on the board right away.
I think you got some things to net tonight. I feel strong about it, and we'll get a lot of good insight. You're in great company, so it's only just going to magnify what you bring to the table, starting with what you got on the card for the Sun versus the Fever going down tonight.
Yeah, when you look at the Sun and the Fever tonight, I'm looking at something that I didn't see I saw before until recently on FanDuel, and that's who lead to the game and 3-pointers made. Folks, I'm going to go with the pride of the Jersey Shore. You're from the Jersey Shore now. I guess we can call you. You're a member of the community. I'm going with Marina Mabry at plus 290 to make the most threes. If you look at it, right, with 3-pointers attempted or made against, the Indiana Fever give up 8.8 3-pointers per game. That is second most in the NBA. But then you look at the fact that who gives up the least threes, okay? That's the Connecticut Sun. They only give up 6.1, and their 30.4% is the second best three-point percentage defense. So right off the bat, they're going to run Caitlin Clark off the line. So I took her off, right? So now it's Kelsey Mitchell, it's DeWanna Bonner, or it's Marina Mabry. I'm going with Mabry because she'll get the shot attempts. She's more consistent than Bonner, and I just think this is a spot where she usually plays well against Indiana. Remember, last game, I think they went 2 out of 13 from 3 or 2 out of 15 when they played the Liberty. The only 2 threes were made by Marina Mabry. Marina Mabry, plus 290 to lead tonight's game in three-pointers made.
I like that. Now, I made my own little play card tonight, and I had Aaliyah Boston to record a double-double. Am I far off here, Coach, or is that something that we could foresee?
No, I like Aaliyah Boston. That was the other one I was looking at to get a double-double. I just, with Casey, I got to go find that plus money. If I see some plus money, the coach got to go after it and go take it. So with Aaliyah Boston, absolutely. This is someone who's averaging nearly a double-double each game of this year. She has been, I would say this, Kelsey Mitchell's been outstanding. But to me, it's been the more consistent play of Aaliyah Boston that I think is a reason why this team could make a run. And I'm going to say this right now. If the season ended today, Casey, I think this is the first-round matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana stole this series.
Ooh.
Here's why. Connecticut doesn't shoot the ball well from 3. Who shoots it well from 3 is Indiana. If they get hot, and you've seen the scoring load of Connecticut go way down after scoring 108 in the first game of Marina Mabry, that is a sneaky good thing to look at if we get there. But the Aaliyah Boston at 14-9, double-double in 2 straight games, 15 rebounds in 2 out of 3 games, I actually like that play for a double-double for Aaliyah Boston.
I like it. You're making me feel better about throwing my hat in the rink with you all. Now, for this Mystiques versus Sky, found some things interesting here. Sky been on a bit of a slippery slope, but what's on your play card between these two teams? And not to mention is that Carter's perimeter defense. Is this going to be something that can be a challenge to help the Sky get back into the mix, or is it up in the air?
Well, this line, Casey, flipped from yesterday. Do know that, if I'm not mistaken, Kennedy Carter is out tonight with a non-COVID illness. There's also the point that Angel Reese and another player, I think it may have been Cardozo, were wearing masks in shoot-around. I've got to deal with that before. Gosh. So it's gone from like a -2.5 in favor of the Sky to a -2 for the Mystics. I like the Mystics covered. And I think Angel Reese is going to have an absolutely monster game. Listen, you can call whatever you want. Us old folks, you're young, Casey, you're young. Us old folk, we call this the Moses Malone, which is you missed a shot, get a rebound. It's 2 points and a rebound right then and there. I think she goes over a rebound prop, but I like more than anything the Mystics on the money line to get the win tonight.
Big fan of that. And thank you for mentioning the variations of issues that this other team is facing. That's for sure. Now, when it comes to the Liberty versus the Sparks game, hopefully less drama and no mask. But what do you got going on for this matchup?
Well, the Liberty bounced back really well, Casey, after their 72-64 loss to Connecticut. Going on the road, it's a 4.5-point favorite and taking out Phoenix. So the last time I went against the Liberty with this, the first game out of the All-Star break, they played against the Los Angeles Sparks on the road. And I think they were 12-point favorites. I'm like, no, too many points, Olympic break. 103-68 later, they absolutely beat them down. I'm not going against it. Here's what we know about the Liberty, Casey. They're great at covering spreads on the road, not so great covering at home. Big game out of Stewie tonight. They can't check her, but the bigger play is I'm going to take the Liberty minus the points. I think they win by 15 plus. I wouldn't be shocked if they won by 20.
Ooh, 15 plus. And then we've got to cap you out with Lynx versus Mercury. Are you seeing as big of a success on the spread here, or what's going on?
Yeah, I like the Minnesota Lynx minus the points. I just think Phoenix is not playing as well. You got to remember that Minnesota has covered every game against the spread since coming out of the Olympic break. The Phoenix Mercury is alternated, but the last time obviously they lost 84-70. And I'm going to say this quick because I know we don't have time. Folks, if you want to take a stab at it, I've already done it. I'm taking Nafisa Collier to win MVP of the WNBA. Simply put, I know how great, Asia Wilson has been. But, man, that team is struggling, and I get Nafisa Collier 37-1. They will lose to Caitlin Clark. If they finish second, Nafisa Collier, 37 plus 3,700 to be MVP.
I was hoping that you would throw in the hot take and let everybody know where you're leaning with the MVP. Coach, thank you so much for joining me here. Stay tuned on the other side of this quick break.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. Great WNBA stuff from Coach or James Young, however you want to refer to him. But as I promised, we've got to talk about one of the best tournaments going down, but one of the most important tournaments in tennis, and that is the U.S. Open that is rolling through day 3. Now, some of the people to keep an eye on, some matches that have pushed behind us, and some key athletes that you do not want to miss in action. We've got to talk about some recaps. So earlier today, one of the biggest conversations in the tennis world was going to be Badosa taking on Townsend. Townsend has been tremendous in her double matches, but finding her consistency and rhythm when it comes to those one-on-ones have not been as great, if you want to say, even though she's such a strong player, which explains why Paula Badosa moved forward today. But what got her through? It was her 76% when it came to her powerful serves. It was the way that she dictated and controlled the game. You saw a lot of fatigue out of Townsend very early in this matchup, and a lot of people are talking about the heat index and how players are struggling to push through that. We saw Big Foe earlier today move through 5 different t-shirts. He had to keep running over to the bench to keep himself dry and to keep himself from overheating. I think the fatigue got into Townsend. I was expecting a better matchup here, but regardless, Badosa has been great. She had a great showing in D.C. She was just as equally consistent in Cincinnati. So it's not going to be a surprise if we see her getting to the late stages of this U.S. Open. But now she's going to take on Rousset. Rousset is a sneaky one. She got through her matchup today, but she's somebody who's very hard to eliminate out of a game. She's not somebody who's going into these matchups just relying on her serve or her respond to a serve, her forehand or her backhand. She's pretty consistent, but where Badosa can come in strong in this upcoming matchup is kind of moving her around the court a lot more. But again, back to that first serve, she's really good at dictating that. She's really good at forcing her opponent to kind of eat when she puts in these powerful serves. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her continue to successfully move on. Then for our next one, Ben Shelton just wrapped up versus Batista Agut, and we knew he was going to grab it. 3 straight sets. You're talking about one of the powerhouses, and as you guys heard me nerd out here before at SportsGrid TV, it's the fact that the hard courts are for the powerhouses. Ben Shelton had a great run last year. He's the swaggiest player when it comes to the USTA, if you will. And it's not just about his power. It's not just about that serve. It's the fact that he's got consistent speed on everything that he does, and he adjusts his game on a dime. He's constantly thinking. He's constantly getting in his opponent's head. He's got a little bit of a villain to him, but either way, that fast serve is remaining consistent. That fast forehand consistent, and his ability to draw his opponent to the net is irritating. And that's where he's going to continue to push forward, which makes this even more exciting because Friday, it looks like we're going to see a rematch between Ben Shelton and Francis Tiafoe, the guy who went through 5 shirts, by the way, today. Now, if everybody can cool off a little bit, which we're expecting some better temperatures, we're going to see a great rally between Tiafoe or Big Foe and Shelton. Shelton was a surprise last year, topping Big Foe. Big Foe was not ready for the power that Ben Shelton had, but what Tiafoe did very brilliantly today, which I'm sure he'll carry into his matchup on Friday, is that he was really good at creating the rhythm and changing the rhythm versus his opponent. It was very hard for his opponent to get in any sort of flow or find their own strength. And Tiafoe is really good at that when he's consistent. But how he's going to handle the serves of Ben Shelton, we'll see come on Friday. So those are the matchups that we've got now coming with our winners of the day so far, which brings me to my underdogs or my canines in this U.S. Open. As I've probably bragged enough, Ben Shelton is a guy who's been flying under the radar. I think he's still sitting at plus 5,500 odds, and those have shaken up just a little bit. Hopefully it increases after this victory right here. But he went toe-to-toe with Djokovic last year. He just showed up a little too slow. So it took him up to the 3rd set to finally get into a rhythm and to prove himself. But to continue in this, you got Big Foe. If Big Foe gets past Shelton, that can be a scary thing. Don't forget the Americans. Fritz and Paul were tremendous in the Olympics. Tommy Paul is probably one of the most underrated players talked about. He's extremely fast. His reaction, his forehand, when he draws his opponent to the net, when he tracks back to the baseline, he's all over the court. He's very hard to shake off. But then you got Fritz, who has that mentality that keeps him in every game. So these are my gentlemen when it comes to the underdog or the canine conversation. But Ben Shelton's probably the largest conversation to track on here. We will touch on the women that are my canines. They are going to be flying under the radar and potentially making an appearance. Madison Key was somebody today that had a great match earlier, so don't go anywhere. Be sure to check out the odds on these 4 guys at least. Ben Shelton playing again on Friday. We've got Fritz coming down the pipeline later tonight, and we'll get into that preview, so go nowhere. Stick with us here on SportsGrid TV.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, like, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan to believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. I'm Kasey Hudson, now joined by the one and only Adam Kaufman. Adam, how's it going? You got some MLB stuff for us, some Wednesday winners.
I'm great. Anytime you hit me with a one and only, it just that makes me feel all, I got like goosebumps. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. Listen, you got an action-packed show here. I appreciate you fitting me in. Let's talk a little baseball.
Yeah, that's what I told Coach. He said that he was in great company, and I think that it just continues to roll on. Let's start with the Angels versus the Tigers. Pre-game, anything you got going hot in this one?
So this game, I was looking at the under. The under is where I'm looking in this one. It's not a big play or anything like that. And if I had to go with a side, although I don't have a strong play on it, it would probably just be the Tigers, which I realize feels a little lazy. They're heavy favorites in this one. I'm just not expecting a whole bunch of offense in this game based on the pitchers that we see on the mound here in this matchup. I'm just pulling it up in front of me. I had it, and then my computer went all wonky on me for a hot second. This game delayed, obviously, but is getting underway here shortly. That's where I would go. Really, I'll throw one at you. The game that I'm most looking forward to, and there were some during the day that I was invested in. In fact, I had a builder of sorts. Although, you know me in the parlays, but this wasn't crazy. We're not talking like plus 400 or whatever. This was more of a supercharged, like a builder on steroids. Since we're talking about baseball, why not talk about steroids? It was in the vicinity of plus 150, which was the Pirates' first 5 money line and the Mariners' full game money line, which of course just went final. I paired those two together and that hit, but not an easy one. Obviously, I know a lot of people, including Scott Farrell. I was on with him earlier. He is a Pittsburgh fan, and that thing went south. A massive comeback in that game on the part of the Cubs. The Pirates wound up losing. Pittsburgh was up like 10-3 or something like that in that game. So I was very happy and supportive of Paul Skeens to be on the first 5 in that situation. That worked out. But where I'm looking tonight, and there are a few spots, but the game that I'm most looking forward to, which begins in just a few minutes here, is this Athletics and Reds game. And it feels a little nerve-wracking to, be supporting Oakland on the money line. This is another one that I do have a smaller play on the Athletics money line, but again, more interested in the first 5 situation, which when I played it, it was right around minus 110. I'm not sure where exactly it sits right now. It's probably minus 110, minus 150, and I doubt it's moved all that much, this game in Cincinnati. The Reds have been struggling of late. Oakland actually won that game last night as well. But for me, this is more of attacking a pitching matchup. You got an opener situation for Cincinnati, whereas for Oakland here, You've got Osvaldo Beto, and I like this guy more and more every time I see him. It's not just the really fun name to say. Ever since he has come out of the bullpen, the guy has been electrifying as they continue to stretch him out as a starter. He has gone this month in reverse order, most recent 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. He is working between 90 and 100 pitches, and he is regularly striking guys out, which was why I found his K prop today to be so perplexing, borderline insulting to Beto. Honestly, if Beto's family is watching this one, you should be insulted on his behalf. I am insulted on his behalf. It was, I think, sitting at over 3.5, 4.5. He should absolutely get to this number. Again, I'm expecting him to strike out 6, maybe even ladder him up to 7 or 8 guys in this one. He has just been, again, I use the word electric in his performances. He has allowed no more than 2 earned runs in any of the 4 starts this month. He has had a couple of shutouts in the mix as well. Really only one bad start period in the time since he has become a starter, and that was to close out the month of July. And so I am super excited about this one. And yes, as crazy as it feels, I know it's not White Sox crazy, but as crazy as it feels, I am supporting Oakland on the money line tonight.
Wow. Well, I'm right there with you. I opened up the show talking about Oakland on the money line. Who knows? Because, as you've mentioned, but the pitching matchup is what stood out to me. Not to mention, as I saw what Beto did to my Rays through 5 innings, only allowed 1 run, and I carried that one personally with me into today's betting. So I guess the method of the story is bet on Beto. What about the under total on that one? Would you lean under because of the pitching matchup? It's a 10 total.
I would lean under. I think that's a big total. I was expecting it to be more in the vicinity of 8.5, 9. And I know if people are out there listening, you don't bet baseball all the time. You're thinking like, all right, at 8.5, 9 versus 10, like really, what's the big difference? Well, you've never been hooked betting, totals in Major League Baseball. It makes a world of difference. And so, yeah, I do like the under in this one. There are some other unders I'm drawn to as well, including the game involving the Rockies, which is always a scary proposition, but I do like the under in this game. Where I would go over, though, while we're talking about this, I guess, would be my Red Sox in their game tonight against the Blue Jays starting up in, I guess it's a little less than a half hour at this point in time. A matchup of Bassett and Bayo. Both guys with ERAs in the 4s, although Bayo has been pitching much better of late. And he's another guy that I would go over on his K prop. It's a 4.5 total. I think that is modest compared to, I think he's probably more at 6. So I do think he clears it. But when the Red Sox are involved, it's almost like a blind rule of thumb. I'm gonna bet the over. I'm just going to, because we know they can hit. As inconsistent as maybe the offense has been of late, the Red Sox can hit, and more to the point, the pitching is not great, and the bullpen flat out sucks. And so if I'm looking for teams to go out there and score when the Red Sox are involved, doesn't matter almost unless you have like a truly putrid offense, like, again, the White Sox. You have a team like the Blue Jays and the talent, Guerrero and others that are in that lineup. I just expect runs to be produced. And so, could we get a 6-5 game or something like that at Fenway? Wouldn't surprise me in the least. And again, you're clearing that number at that point in time.
All right, so that's where your clear overs go to. Gave us some good unders, but there's some pitching matchups where I think you've probably got some sick strikeout props for us. Maybe something in the Yankees game. I don't know, but where are you heading when it comes to breaking down the pitchers?
Festa's intriguing in that, or pardon me, I was already looking ahead of the game that I wanted to talk about. Gore and Rodon. Gore's a guy that in the past I've considered, going over every once in a while on the K props. The Yankees aren't a team that I really want to attack when it comes to strikeouts. Where I would go, going back to Festa, this Braves and Twins game. Now, I like the Braves. Who wouldn't? Chris Sale's on the mound. He's been, Cy Young this year. He's 14-3, an ERA of 2.5, and this Twins lineup absolutely is prone to the strikeout. And so Sale's a very popular guy in the baseball betting space today. A lot of people are not only going over his 7.5, but, laddering him up to 10. If you wanted to do a same game parlay in SGP and put together both Sale and Festa to go over their K props, because Festa obviously at a much lower number, and then at that point in time, maybe a little mini ladder, bump each of them up by one or something like that. I think it's a reasonable thing to chase if you don't want to lay all the juice betting on the Braves, unless of course you're drawn to the Twins and you want to chase the plus money, by all means. But most people aren't going to go after the Braves in a highly juiced up money line situation. You're either going to play the run line or you're going to, again, use them as a George Kurtz parlay piece, something like that.
Are there any run lines or top 5 innings that you're leaning towards tonight, or are you steering clear of it with your parlay parties?
I say this with a little bit of trepidation because I can't think of the number of times that they have burned me, even just in the last week and a half. But Yankees run line is where I would go. I think the Yankees are in a great spot against the Nationals, and obviously you have the advantage of them being the road team, so they're going to get that extra set of at-bats. I would look toward New York, who, of course, I'm a huge favorite. I would look toward New York on the run line, winning this thing by multiple runs. Also, FanDuel has a boost. Judge and Soto to each record a hit. Not a homer, a hit. And that was boosted to plus 120. I've jumped on that as well.
I knew you were going to come in with the specials. A special that I should have grabbed last week, so make sure you listen to Adam Kaufman. We have got more on the other side of this quick break, so stick with us here on SportsGrid TV. Adam, thank you so much.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions. It's time to talk about some college football. And football fans, before we get too emotional about how week 0 opened up and what FSU may or may not do, let's come back to being level-headed and remember what happens when teams travel. Most importantly, let's remember what tends to happen when not FSU, but when the football season opens up for college football. That's where you see some upsets. That's where you see some things, but you can't be over dramatic about it. Georgia Tech, it was mentioned that they were going to have a pretty outstanding offense, and we're still trying to navigate what's going on with FSU's defense. So I had to get that off my chest before we start talking about the slate coming up starting on Thursday or tomorrow night. But where I'm going with this one, we've got a number of games tomorrow that are worthy of watching. A ranked team versus a non-ranked team, but plenty of props or worthy of things that you should probably consider laying your money on. Now, one of my favorite games, and my producer might get mad here for a second, but I've got to talk about the Minnesota Gophers and the UNC Tar Heels. This is a matchup that I actually find quite interesting. We've got a Gophers team last season that was pretty shaky, super inconsistent, but they had their moments. And outside of their moments of shakiness, they showed that they were a team worth not only betting on, but watching. They were fun, especially when it came to the run game. Now, how well they stopped the run was an entirely different conversation, but when it comes to the run game, it's probably where I'm going to throw out some props that you want to gear towards or keep an eye on as we head into college football tomorrow. So when you're looking at the Gophers matchup, I think that with UNC revamping their roster and with everything that they have had to change around, that Minnesota Gophers have a chance to have a solid, more strong start to their season, relying on the things that worked for them last year. You've got a more dynamic quarterback in Max Brosmer, and then the running back that I mentioned beforehand, extremely potent guy. You've got Darius Taylor. For his props, if anything sitting underneath 60 rushing yards is something that you're going to want to slam the over on, because I think that they will go to the run game while Brosmer kind of gets his footing with the Gophers. But the Gophers have a tendency to be more versatile on their offense. They can spread the ball against UNC. Again, revamped roster. So they're not going to be solidified in any category where they're going to come in and overpower the Gophers. I think that this is a great spot for them. So I like the Gophers to potentially cover the spread, but more importantly, I like the prop for Taylor to get some great yards on the ground and then at least one passing touchdown when it comes to Brosmer. Now, as for one of the next games coming up, you got Western Carolina versus NC State. What's going on over here is Cole Gonzalez. Great year last year, actually. Pretty good when it came to his completion percentage, sitting at 65.8%. Not to mention is that pretty flattering when it came to his passing yards, but it's going to be the 28 touchdown passes for me. So obviously, I'm probably going to lean towards an over 1.5 passing touchdown prop. These things sit pretty low in the beginning of the season. It'll probably tally up throughout the year, but you can catch that at good value nice and early on. Not looking at the ranked versus non-ranked matchup, just more so kind of gearing into those player prop bets for games like so. This is what you look at in the first week or two if you're not Georgia, Clemson, and some of the other top teams. Something else that I like about Gonzalez, not afraid to use his legs. So he's also one of those quarterbacks that you can grab for some passing props as well as some rushing yard props. Anytime that his rushing yards are sitting anywhere around 30 yards, he's a guy he can easily pick up between 35 to 45 yards using his legs. And he's probably going to want to do so versus an NC State team that can pretty heavy when it comes to the trenches on their D line. Lindenwood versus Kansas. This is one of those games where the spread is extremely unattractive. Plus 44, I think, is the last thing that I saw. Kansas is pretty fun to watch sometimes. Do I think that Lindenwood could stay within the spread? It would be pretty ridiculous if they can't. They're not particularly terrible, but they're not going to be up to par to contend with a team like Kansas. So if you don't want to just slam the money line, maybe look at Lindenwood covering the spread, but also prop bet here. It's going to be Devin Neal for rushing yards for me. Just slam that one over all day long. One of the other games we have got to get to is going to be Georgia and Clemson. Clemson, I don't ever want to give them credit because I think it's obvious who I cheer for in the ACC, but this whole narrative around them not making moves in the transfer portal, not using it to their advantage, it's kind of being blown out a little bit. They still have a talented roster. They still have the ability to compete. Are they going to compete that highly with a Georgia team that's probably kept their entire roster just about intact or betterly intact or improved in all the right places? Yes and no. I think that Georgia's defense is going to be a massive problem for Clemson. I'm steering clear of the spread on this one, so I'm going to go with the Georgia money line, but maybe even look at the under. Again, Clemson's still pretty talented. Georgia's very dynamic and dominant, but I don't totally ignore what Clemson can bring to the table. And if FSU continues to slide down the slopes, they're probably going to be one of the top teams in the ACC, depending on how we see things shake out with Miami. Now, one thing to consider for another matchup, you've got Penn State versus West Virginia. I'm a little iffy on this one. I kind of want to go towards the Penn State money line here, but I do like West Virginia to cover. Why? It's very simple. West Virginia, 5-1 at home last season, but the bigger question here is what Penn State's secondary is going to look like and how they're going to match up. You've got some guys wide out for West Virginia that can be a bit of an issue and find the end zone, and it's going to put Penn State secondary to the test. So this is going to be a great game to see what has come of Penn State secondary and how well they'll be able to compete throughout this college football season. Take West Virginia to cover. Then you got Miami versus Florida. This is a wonky one. Most talented roster just about in the ACC. When you talk about Miami, the first thing that you talk about is every player and how impressive this roster is. Now, I think that they have to open up with a win, or a statement win more specifically, because Florida's one of those teams that can sneak in the mix. I don't think that Florida's going to come in here and drop the game, but I think that if Miami's going to live up to the hype, that they have to come in here and shut the door right away. I give them a win by at least a touchdown in this matchup. So I'm not really even favorably loving the spread when it comes to Miami versus Florida. One other thing to keep an eye on, Notre Dame versus Texas. This is going to be a battle of the trenches for me. Notre Dame's quarterback is coming off of a pair of injuries. You got Texas A&M with one of the best D-lines out there in the mix. They bring that pressure and keep Notre Dame's quarterback either on the ground or shuffling his feet a lot. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Probably considering the under if the battle of the trenches really do come down to it. So a lot of fun college football games to look at. Do not overthink the FSU loss over in Ireland, and stick with us because we've got more U.S. Open to get to, more WNBA with Kate Constable. So stick with us here on SportsGrid TV.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
You are watching Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. Thank you for joining me, Kasey Hudson. We had Coach James come on and break down his WNBA card. We had Adam Kaufman, who gave us the best unders and overs and some K-props that you don't want to miss for games getting going in the MLB. We talked some U.S. Open. We talked some college football. Now we're coming back to the U.S. Open because there are about 4 crucial games that you're going to want to watch tonight. Even if you're a new tennis fan, you are at least a Joker fan, or a Joker hater, which is where we will start. You've got Novak Djokovic taking on Laslo Djere tonight. And look, Djere probably is sitting at a 19% chance to win, but that shouldn't deter you from thinking that it's going to be a fun match because he can challenge Djokovic in a perfect way. One of the things that we want to see out of Joker before he continues to excel through the tournament, because I don't think Jared is going to be one of those guys that knocks him out of the rankings right now, but he's going to be able to continue to test Joker's backhand. We saw this a little bit at Wimbledon, and we saw some of the frustration, but when I talked to anybody about that matchup, when anyone asked me if this was an old guard versus new guard situation, if Joker's kind of on his last leg, I completely disagreed. I think that you just saw a little irritability in his knee. You can't come off of a meniscus surgery, jump into multiple tournaments, and not feel a little reservation. He wasn't as explosive. He wasn't as dynamic, even though he stayed very well in the tournament, and it's not normal to see him get swept out of anything. So with that said, I think that Laslo is going to come in and test his backhand continuously. But what makes Joker so good is that the hard court is his. I mean, he's literally 71-0 when it comes to winning these matchups. So it's going to give him a nice test to get him well-oiled to continue to move through the U.S. Open. If you don't want to take Joker on the money line, probably take him to set the tone. Those first match odds are usually really good to look at, and plus you can get good value on them. So if you want to take Joker to win the first set, that's something to look at. Winning the first set, dropping the second set, also something that he will do against opponents that have a lower percentage to win against him. Now, one other thing to look at is that Jared could also grab at least one set against Joker. Joker has a tendency to kind of take a minute to either get acclimated after he picks up that first set or just kind of wear out a little bit. They're not going to be feeling the fatigue of the heat, but I think that this guy's going to come in and really test Joker's backhand. One of my favorite ones, as I mentioned earlier, a tough one for me. I'm a big Matteo Berrettini fan. I think that he is going to be even more impactful down the stretch here. Health has not been on his side, but then you got Taylor Fritz, who's really just kind of won this one outright a number of times. Last 3 times that these two have faced each other, it's been Fritz that's taken the win. Also, that first set, which is why Fritz to take the first set as well as to win outright, is on my play card for tonight. Something else that's encouraging is that on the season, Fritz right now is 38-16. I mentioned his tremendous play when it came to the Olympics. He's been one of the top Americans in every single conversation, and I think that he's going to be able to manage tonight as well. One of the big things that works for Fritz is his respondability. So he doesn't go into these matchups being the most powerful server or being the most powerful responder. It's the fact that Fritz is very agile. He's really good in each category. He's extremely mentally tough. He does have a fast serve, though, a pretty potent one coming into this tournament at 134. And if Berrettini is struggling through any sort of injuries and you've got Fritz working him from side to side on the court, then it's automatically going to be something where Fritz can run away with tonight. But Berrettini really does lead in almost every other category. Percentage in first serve, his ability to grab points off of that first serve. So I think this will be a tight matchup, but I think Fritz takes it. Maria versus Gauff. Coco Gauff is out here serving at 120 miles per hour, number one. Number two, she can easily grab a number of points off of her first serve alone. Her thing is going to be if Maria works her to the net consistently. You don't see much fatigue out of Coco Gauff, but somebody like Maria could do just that. They can continue to draw her to the net. They can force her to not work side to side, but backwards and forwards. And that's where we can see Gauff get a little out of character there because she does try to lean into her forehand a lot after her serve. But I think, again, this is a match where Coco Gauff is going to take it. Again, you can grab her on the money line or grab her to win the second set as well as the match outright. She's somebody who can sit on her heels a little bit while feeling out her opponent, but that's her mind game after she comes in with those crazy, consistent, fast serves. One other one to keep in mind, you got Azarenka versus Burl. Azarenka's a fave here for a number of reasons. She's got a powerful serve, but this can be one of those things where Burl can come in and upset. They've got a lot of similarities in their style of play. We're not going to see much backhand action out of either of these gals. So honestly, a toss-up here. I would take Azarenka to win the first set. But we've got more coming in as we run through the U.S. Open. I talked about the matchups coming down the pipeline on Friday. You want to keep an eye on my K9 and underdogs as we continue to work through the U.S. Open. But go nowhere because we got more college football, more WNBA on the other side of this quick break.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan to believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
We're back with Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And as I mentioned, we're only here to sweeten the deal on your Wednesday. We've had some Wednesday winners dropped by Coach James, by Adam Kaufman. We'll have some from Kate Constable coming up later. But we got to get back to the college football conversation for just a second, because I went on this whole spiel about not overreacting. Did I overreact about FSU's loss initially? Probably. Have I felt a little bit calmer since? Absolutely. But we do have to talk about FSU going against Boston College. Now, I probably have the most embarrassing picture that SportsGrid can use as blackmail later down the stretch of me with terrible hair on a school day, wearing an FSU jersey, die hard for this team. What have I learned in my fandom and my loyal support for FSU? I have learned that Boston College can sneak in there and steal your hopes and dreams at any second. So, this is where we have to kind of be cautious when it comes to Boston College versus FSU. Do I like FSU on the money line? Yes. But I think Boston College can probably cover the spread here, 17.5. I've watched FSU somehow fall short to this team a number of times and upset the Seminoles year in and year out. Unless Boston College is just an absolute dumpster fire of a roster, they always keep the Seminoles on their toes. I don't foresee back-to-back losses for FSU, which is why I couldn't steer clear of completely maybe liking the money line here. But you got Boston College, who's got a flashy quarterback in the pocket, a dual threat to be more specific with Thomas Castellanos. Then they kept 98% of their roster intact. And now you got Bill O'Brien, who is 15-9 as a head coach in college football specifically. I know there was a lot of controversy on how well he did or did not do with his NFL career, but I could tell you that he has learned a lot when it comes to being either an assistant coach in college or being a head coach, and the record speaks for itself. He's not terrible. And when he has a roster that stays intact, when he has a roster that already has the chemistry tends to brew its own magic. So that's the only way that I can't entirely look away from Boston College and what I've seen them do to the Seminoles and what I know they have the potential to do. So this spread at 17.5 just felt a little too big for what Bill O'Brien can bring to the table and from what FSU is trying to sort out and hopefully come to the table with their heads on right. Another game that I like over the weekend, you got USC playing LSU, and they're going to get their first taste of a NFL stadium flash and flare, and maybe that's going to bring out an even more impressive game. USC's rankings kind of threw me by surprise. I don't think that they needed to drop that low at the loss of their quarterback going to the NFL. They're still a quality pass attack team, and they still have weapons that they could potentially spread the ball amongst. So them dropping all the way to 28, I think is what I saw last, was a little outrageous in my opinion. They do have a revamped secondary, or they are going against a revamped secondary for LSU. I can see where that brings in a lot of question marks. I trust that LSU, and under being Blake Baker, is going to probably help level them up a lot. LSU is also one of those teams that has been known to have tremendous secondaries. I mean, years and years ago, but Blake Baker has actually put a lot of work and effort into grabbing the right players to strengthen the secondary. So the pass attack might not be as flashy now that you don't have your previous quarterback, and you do have some other weapons, but you do have some guys on the younger side to work through. But you've got two teams working through some new situations. But LSU is a well-oiled machine on their offense. So if their new secondary shows up for them and their well-oiled offense goes to work, not to mention is that they have the stronger offensive line between the two teams, I could see LSU having some fun here. So LSU to cover the spread between this one. Again, they're going to be under the big lights of an NFL stadium. They're going to be trying to prove that the revamping and the new coaching on the defensive side of the ball came to play. And USC has a lot to prove to say that they're not a number 28 ranked team that just completely fell off because of the loss of their quarterback. Now, my spiel in college football is done. I've got the FSU stuff behind me. We've got some insight on LSU and USC, but we've probably got to jump into the NFL Week 1 slate, and we've got to start with the Ravens versus the Chiefs. I have to say, I think I love most of you because I threw up a poll the second that we found out that Juju was going to be joining Chiefs Kingdom, and I was almost certain that 90% of fans were going to come in and say, that's it, Chiefs have secured the bag, as if those haven't been the odds to begin with. But I thought that people were going to get a little bit more carried away with it. Juju, when he's feeling good, when he's in a rhythm with his team, he is one of those guys who sits top of the charts for yards after catch, and that can be something tremendous when you're playing alongside a Patrick Mahomes. But nobody got carried away with this. A lot of people are still relying on Pacheco to be the key guy when it comes to the Chiefs' success this season, as well as Travis Kelce, as long as he's happy and healthy and all the good things. When it comes to this matchup, though, you're looking at a Chiefs team that has been successful versus the Ravens at home. I want to say that they've taken 2 wins. Outside of that, though, you've got a Ravens team that's 5-1 on the road, and they are not to be underestimated by any means. I've said it on the show a number of times. You've got Lamar Jackson, who's got great odds when he is the underdog. You've got head coach Harbaugh, who has got great odds when he is the underdog. So when you're looking at the matchup for this one, it's going to be a good game. The one thing that I do shy of just a little bit is the fact that the Chiefs haven't really had the greatest start to their season last year or the year before. They're one of those teams that obviously kind of hang in there, but they get a lot hotter, and you see the best of their offense as the season has gone along. Might be a little bit crazy, but while you're testing things out, and of course the Ravens being that team that shamefully didn't use their run game accordingly, I can almost see this game being kind of sloppy and coming in that under total, because we might see a lot more running. We might see how the Ravens try to use their run game versus the Chiefs defense. But more importantly, if we're using Pacheco, if we're using Worthy, which I hope Patrick Mahomes starts to get him even more situated. I made a comparison to him getting a Tyreek Hill back in Xavier Worthy. And I can kind of see this feeling out and heating up in the second half. One of the other top games in the NFL for week 1 is going down in Brazil. And this is going to be a good one also because you've got the Packers and you've got the Eagles. Now, you've got 2 teams that have bolstered their run game with top running backs. Obviously, you've got Barkley with the Eagles, and then you've got Josh Jacobs with the Packers. I like this being maybe more of a low-scoring game because of the ability to test out and rely on the run game or test out these new running backs. The bigger conversation is always going to be the health around the weapons that Jordan Love has on his offense. We know that Romeo Doubs can kind of show up there. We know that they kind of inserted some other guys. We know that Christian Watson should be on the healthier side comes at some point of the season. But regardless, you're not going to want to wear out your quarterback too early, which means you're going to want to see what Josh Jacobs can bring to the table. This had me fade some fantasy football statistics for the wide receivers if Jacobs can get hot. He's not coming to the Packers to not have a 1,000-yard season, and he can get that started versus the Eagles. The other thing, Barkley's going to play a huge role as well as a massive bolster for the Eagles and their offense. And again, you're talking about somebody who's used to being a workhorse, used to getting those yards, and a team brought him in for that specific reason. So if we're looking at, again, another round matchup, consistent ground game between the two, I can see this one being a little bit lower. Take fatigue, take travel into consideration, take the heat into consideration also. If we think we're dying here from a heat index and you're looking at Brazil, it's probably going to be a tad bit on the hotter side also. I love the Packers to maybe be a first half winner here, as well as to cover the 2.5 spread. Feels a little bit small. Eagles did make some moves to bolster their secondary, so that's another reason why I don't think you're going to go into this competition trying to have Jordan Love air out the ball, depending on the health and the consistency of his wide receivers. Panthers versus the Saints. Panthers are a brand new team. Dave Canales at the helm. You've got young guys. He's really good at instructing young guys, but I don't expect this to be any sort of like massively exciting game. I think that the Saints on the money line is probably a good move here. Not to mention is that the Saints defense, I hate giving them that much credit, but they're not that talked about enough. They have enough of a defense to challenge a team. They had plenty of low scoring games last year. It's more so seeing how they can connect outside of Carr and Olave. Are we going to get a healthy Kamara this year? Is Derek Carr going to have other options? But if he doesn't, versus the Panthers specifically, he can throw deep balls to Olave all day. So check out Olave's props as well as the Saints on the money line for this. But go nowhere. We've got more football to break down. We've got to get Kate Constable's WNBA winners on this Wednesday night and so much more here on SportsGrid TV. So be sure to stick with us on Game Time Decisions. We got a quick little break and we've got more for you on the other side.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And as promised, we've got to get more Wednesday winners. And who better to do that with than Kate Constable, one of my favorites to talk WNBA with. But don't get it mistaken. She knows a lot more than the WNBA. You got college football. I gave the Gophers some love today. And you've got so many other things that Kate just knows. So make sure that you stick with everything that Kate's got going on. But how are you on this Wednesday? And where are you going to be watching the game from? Games, I should say.
I am good, Kasey. I love that you're giving some love to my Gophers, Minnesota native, as you can hear in my accent. College football is going to be so fun this weekend. So many fun games. I also went to school at Iowa, so we'll be betting Iowa and likely the under in that game, although I think their offense will be a little bit better this year. But in terms of the W, I'm just going to be sitting at home, might have a bowl of popcorn, sit on my couch watching these games go on and hoping to hit some bets. My first bet that I like, I'm going to bet against the Chicago Sky and take their team total under. What do I have it at? Under 78.5. I grabbed that earlier today. They're playing the Washington Mystics, and the Mystics are really not great this season, one of the bottom feeder teams in the league. But since the break, their defense has been fifth, so haven't been terrible on defense. But the main reason that I like Chicago to be lower scoring tonight is because Kennedy Carter is not playing. She is sick. There's a sickness going through the entire team. A couple players are out. Angel Reese was seen wearing a mask at practice today, along with their head coach. So there's some sort of illness running through that team right now that I think a lot of the players are going to be just run down. And so they're not going to be able to get up and down the floor as much, not as many transition points. And they're not a huge transition team to begin with. But if they do get out, Kennedy Carter is the one that is getting out and pushing the tempo. So without her on the floor, and then obviously without her scoring, because she is these guys' leading scorer, I think that they are going to struggle to put the ball in the hoop tonight. So I'm taking the Sky under 78.5 points.
I know. I was so disappointed to find out everyone's been running around in mask and stuff, because I'm like, okay, like you've got a Kennedy to be able to help with the defense and really stack up there. And then coach was like, yeah, probably not. But in other news, and maybe talking about defense and like outstanding defenses, Sun versus the Fever. Sun in their previous matchup, I think they had a total of like 18 turnovers, which is tremendous. If they can bring that energy into tonight's game, who knows what we're looking at. But what are you seeing in the Sun versus the Fever showdown?
Yeah, so this one, I mean, just underway. We're in the first. So if you want to live bet it, I mean, right now, Indiana is up 22-17. So if you were thinking about backing the Sun earlier, but maybe wanted it at a little bit better price, I mean, now would kind of be the time to jump in on it and grab Connecticut, because they have been playing really well. I'm not sure I necessarily want to go that route. Yeah, just looking at the board right now, you can grab Connecticut minus 2.5, and they closed at, or plus 2.5 rather. They closed at minus 3.5. So you're getting quite the swing there. I'm probably going to just stay off this one for now, being I didn't like anything enough pregame to bet it. But if you were considering the Sun prior to the game and failed to pull the trigger, I think now might be the time to do that, because you can also get them on the money line at plus 114. So some nice money there.
I love that. You did mention not to get too hype on the Dream, not call them the Dream Team. So I have completely revoked that card entirely. But you got the Dream taking on the Storm, 10 p.m. tip off tonight. Do you have anything that you love in this one?
Yes, I love the Storm plus minus 2.5. I'm sorry, I'm getting my plus and minuses all mixed up. Storm minus 2.5 in the first quarter. I like that just for a pure motivation standpoint in this game. The Storm have been awful since the All-Star break. They've only won once, and that was against the Mystic, who I mentioned are a terrible, pretty terrible team. But Skylar Diggins-Smith said in her post-game press conference after losing to the Mystics at home the other night that the team just didn't come to play on either side of the ball. She was so disappointed in how they approached that game, herself included. And I mean, she was almost like crying in this post-game press conference just because she was so frustrated. So I have to imagine there were some strong words used in that locker room, that there was a team meeting of some sorts to kind of all get on the same page and be ready to go in this game. So I think the Storm come out from the jump ready to go on the defensive end, more so even than on the offensive end. And right now in the first quarter, since this All-Star break, and I mean, since they haven't been great in the All-Star break, their defense early on has still been good, third in defensive rating and net rating in the first quarter. They've actually won 3 of the 4 first quarters, and then it kind of gets away from them late in the game. So that's why I'm just going to silo this, play this early, cash out early, hopefully. Seattle minus 2.5 in the first quarter is my favorite bet in that game.
We love an early cash out, because then the stress is behind you, and then you could probably just finally enjoy the game. That's something that I love to gravitate towards. But Coach had a hot take for us earlier, and who his MVP may be. And I want to get your take if we have time. But first, I know you probably have something for us when it comes to the Lynx and the Mercury. Any best bets that you've got leaning in here?
Yes, I like the Lynx. The Lynx have just been so good since the All-Star break. They look like a well-oiled machine. They're first in offensive rating, first in net rating, fourth in defensive rating. They're 5-0 against the spread since the season has removed, and they've just dominated the Mercury over the last couple of seasons. They've just owned that matchup 8-2 straight up in their last 10, 14-2 against the spread in their last 16. So this is a Lynx team that is just rolling right now, and they are not a train that I want to stand in front of. So I will lay the points with Minnesota.
Laying the points. That's the perfect bet in my book. But going to Coach's hot take for a second, who do you have, or who's sitting top of the charts for you for the MVP conversation for the WNBA?
I mean, it has to be A'ja Wilson. Don't tell me he's taking anyone else other than A'ja Wilson. She's minus 4,000 right now. She just had a 40-point performance.
She's making it look easy putting up the points. I will give you that. But his argument is Collier. He's saying hands down that it should be going to her with what her team is doing, but how she's continuing to elevate regardless. That's where he's going with it. Would that be something that can contend with Wilson?
I mean, I don't think at this point that's an option. She deserves to win. Like, she's had a phenomenal season, and that's a great case to make. But if you're just looking at the numbers and how the books are viewing this, it would be a whole lot closer if she was going to be in contention down the stretch. I think she sure deserves to be in the conversation, and those lines should be a lot closer than they are because she has positioned her team to be one of the top in the league. And I have the Lynx to win the title. So I'm very high in Afisa Collier and Minnesota, but A'ja Wilson is running away with this one again.
Yeah, it's hard not to look at her. I mean, what was her third 30-plus point performance last night? But as I mentioned, Kate's a brilliant mind when it comes to WNBA and so much more. And I am wishing your Hawkeyes good luck this weekend because luckily they're not going against any of my top teams. Kate, as always, it is fantastic chatting with you. Stick with us because we've got more football as well as Brady Cannon down the stretch.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Wire. Only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan to believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV, and I hope that you did not just miss that segment, that breakdown, the Wednesday winners with Kate Constable. I can think that her and Coach are in alignment with a number of great plays, and then not in alignment on some really, really good ones. So be sure that you catch or stay tuned with us for all of these great segments and great guests. And then speaking of greatness, we've got the U.S. Open, one of the best tournaments in tennis going on as we speak. You got Musetti up 2 sets currently. You have Ben Shelton that won earlier. You got Big Foe that went through 5 T-shirts but still pulled off a victory earlier. Let's see if we've got any movement going from anyone else. Zverev, somebody sitting in top 5 odds, also came out with a winner earlier today. He's somebody who also is looked at to probably sneak in the mix here, but I've not really loved his hard court games with him going deep in any sort of hard court tournaments, but supposedly a lot of favoritism towards him probably getting in some of the final rounds. Someone that I actually love to always keep an eye on, played extremely well on the hard court, had a great semifinal. In the Miami Open, it's got to be Dimitrov for me. He's got one of the most powerful and consistent, not only backhands, but his backhand slices. It's one of the hardest things to come out the gate with over and over and over again. And Dimitrov does that. I got to see him practice this weekend at the U.S. Open, and he just looks like he is in rare form in the best way possible. He's obviously one of the only other guys aside of Joker sitting in his 30s, but if he comes in hot with that backhand and that backhand slice, he's somebody that can make a deep run in this tournament. He had a great matchup earlier, came out on top of that one as well. So probably somebody else that I would throw on my K9 list to keep an eye on as the tournaments continue to track through. We are still looking forward to seeing Fritz take on Berrettini. You guys heard my breakdown of that. Then you've got Jurrier versus the Joker. And if he comes in forcing Joker to use that backhand, it's going to get him nice and, let's just say, well prepared to make that deep run. We've seen the odds change a little bit. You had Alcaraz as the front runner earlier. Now you've got Djokovic that's kind of taking that front lead. Obviously, depending on their matchups, we're going to see those things hop around quite a bit. So that's where we're currently sitting with the U.S. Open. Now jumping back over to the MLB for a second. We had Adam Kaufman come in with some great over-unders and K-props. We've got the Mariners who are, well, no, that was earlier today, winning versus the Rays. 6-2 is where that one closed out. We've got Angels versus Tigers, 0-0. There's a delay of game going on. Athletics versus the Reds. I wonder if the Reds were going to kind of be feeling some woes now that they're going to probably be down Lodoto for a while. I think it was a sprain in his hand that's been a bit of the issue, but it looks good for anybody so far who liked the Oakland money line. They're sitting up just 1-0, but top of the 4th. You got Yankees versus the Nationals. Nationals up 2-1, bottom of the 2nd. Still early here. Nationals not always the greatest team at home. Their record was sitting at 31-35 last I checked, and the Yankees are supposed to be the stronger road team. Still a lot of game left. Good to see the Yankees grab something in the 2nd inning, which means maybe those top couple of innings can still play out. It's going to be Chisholm with the home run so far for the Yankees and Cruz with a home run for the Nationals. Then continuing through the slate, we've got the Red Sox atop 1-0, bottom of the 1st. And then coming down the stretch here, we've got the Braves versus the Twins. Adam had some great plays in those. You got Padres versus the Cardinals, Giants, Brewers, Rangers, White Sox. And for the late slate, we're going to talk to someone who's going to give us more Wednesday winners. So, again, stay tuned with us here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid TV. Now, Kate checked out the live lines when it came to the WNBA and the Sun versus the Fever. End of the first quarter right now. You've got the Fever ahead 33-26. Now, top of the segment here on Game Time Decisions. Between talking to Coach James, we weren't entirely counting out the Fever and what they could produce in this matchup. Again, they're a top 5 team when it comes to their scoring offense, and they can kind of play in there, here, and there. But I thought that the Sun, after coming off of a hot turnover performance, were probably going to put up a bigger fight. It's still extremely early. Once again, I like the Fever for that third quarter. I like their consistency so far throughout the season. The way that they're handling this first quarter, I feel good about the outright winning of the third quarter. U.S. Open still going on. MLB slate, later slate coming down the stretch. WNBA getting hot. Then we also have more picks from college football as well as week 1 in the NFL. We'll get back to all of that here shortly. If you guys have missed anything, then you should be following SportsGrid on Twitter and every other social media platform so that you can stay involved in all of the Wednesday winners and all of the great play cards and best bets that are dropped throughout our guests throughout this entire show. We still have more ahead. We got to talk to Brady Cannon about some golf. We got to get back into some NFL conversations, so go nowhere. Stick with us here on Game Time Decisions on the other side of this quick break.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan to believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back into Game Time Decisions here on SportsGrid TV. And while we've had so many incredible guests, we've got to talk to the one and only Brady Cannon. Yes, I said the one and only Adam Kaufman earlier, but there's only one Brady Cannon that can walk us through this tour tournament or tour championship. It's a unique one, right, Brady? There's some things that everybody needs to know between an outright market and a non-outright market, but you're the perfect person to walk us through it.
Well, thank you. Good to be back with you again, Kasey. Yeah, it is anticlimactic, in my opinion, the Tour Championship. This is supposed to be for all the marbles, for the FedEx Cup. And, it's very difficult, as evidenced by this event. I think it's very difficult to construct a playoff format where it all comes down to this golf tournament and how you award someone like Scottie Scheffler for being the best player all year. And, how you make it competitive. It's just a really tough system, I believe, to figure out. And it's certainly not perfect. And, we go through this whole postseason since the British Open and the playoffs, and everything's really exciting and electric. And then we have the grand finale, and it's really, for me, a real letdown. It's difficult to bet. Now, to explain what's going on, we're down to the final 30 players in the FedEx Cup point standings. And that was determined after last week in Colorado, where you had the top 50. Keegan Bradley won. So all these guys, when the dust settled, you were given your top 30, which are here this week in Atlanta in Eastlake. Now, Scottie Scheffler remains number one in the FedEx Cup point standings. So he will start this week with the lead already. Before he even puts a tee in the ground, he will start at 10 under par. Xander Schauffele is at second place in the point standings, so he will start right behind Scottie at 8 under par. And then you have Hideki Matsuyama, who starts at 7, Keegan Bradley, who starts at 6, Ludwig Oberg starts at 5, and then you have a handful of players at 4, and you continue on down until you get to that bottom 25, 26, 27 through 30, where they start at even par. They begin the week 10 shots behind Scottie Scheffler. They basically don't have a chance to win. I was talking with a bookmaker earlier today. It's kind of like this is the reset adjusted odds after 1 day or 2 days of golf have already been played. So you already kind of have a leaderboard out in front of you, and they're rewarding the players that have done well all season long. But now it becomes difficult to bet because you have, the guys that are 10 shots off the pace, they're not going to win. They're basically there to play for pride and try and collect some more cash. Now, there is another, you talked about different outright markets. There is another outright market where you can bet, where you can scrap the strokes that they're starting with and just bet on who will have the low 72-hole score, like a normal golf tournament. But that gets tough too, because again, half the field probably doesn't have a shot to win it here. So what are they really focused on? It's just an imperfect system here for both bettors, golfers, the PGA Tour. They're doing the best they can, but we still need a better way to crown a season-long champion. That's another thing, Kasey. Keegan Bradley won last week in Colorado. It's his first win of the entire season. Scottie Scheffler has 7 victories. Xander Schauffele's won 2 major championships. Keegan Bradley, before last week, hadn't even finished in the top 20 in the last 3 months, and yet he could go out and win this week. Does he deserve to be, the season-long champion? I don't think so. So you can tell it's imperfect, but at the end of the day, I believe it will ultimately come down to the top 2 guys in Scottie Scheffler and Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, definitely a frustrating tournament and matchup, and we've heard Scottie kind of express some of his frustration with the playoff format previous to this tournament or championship, and now you can kind of see where a lot of the other imperfections come into play here because, yeah, how does a guy who just finally won kind of sit at the top of the chart here? But you're the perfect guy to kind of gauge us through the market with outright score or outright starting scores and probably the top approach to betting when it comes to the outright starting scorers.
Yeah, I kind of like that market better because I think it's a little bit easier. Like I said, I think it comes down to the top 2 guys at this list who also happen to be the top 2 players in the world. I think they're better than the rest of the field here. Xander Schauffele has been an absolute horse for this course. He's played in the Tour Championship 7 times. He's never finished worse than 7th. And he's had the low 72-hole score 3 times. He's finished first and second another 3 times. So, he has been right at the top, just seemingly every time he shows up at East Lake Golf Club. Scottie Scheffler hasn't been as sharp. He hasn't played as many times. He has finished runner-up once. But, again, the way a lot of golf tournaments have gone this year, I think it's going to come down to these 2 guys. Hideki Matsuyama, he's 3 shots behind. He withdrew last week with back soreness. Is that still lingering? Is that still bothering him? Ludwig Oberg, I don't know if he's quite ready to knock this door down, still being very young in his career. We've seen him stumble even last week. I was on him last week pre-tournament, and he blew it going into about the 14th hole or something like that. He put a ball in the water. And then, as you start to get 3, 4, 5, 6 shots back of the starting strokes, those guys, they're at a severe disadvantage. So betting-wise, I landed on Xander Schauffele because I said I think it's going to come down to those top 2 guys. They're basically equal in my eyes at all the stats that I look at, and yet we're getting Xander at twice the price. We're getting him at plus 225, whereas Scottie's about plus 125. So I'm going to take the guy that has a better history at this course, who's basically equally otherwise, and we're getting twice the price for him to win the FedEx Cup.
I love that. Now, you did mention how complex it is to kind of bet on this, but do you have any other best bets that you would advise or gauge or consider outside of Schauffele?
Yeah, if you're going to play the, without the strokes market, if you're just going to, have this as a clean slate and which golfer is going to shoot the lowest 4 rounds over the next 4 days, Matsuyama in the neighborhood of 18-1 is something to consider. I mentioned the possible, back injury that could be lingering. I don't know what he was up to last week, if he pulled out early because, he felt it was strategic and to get here, in good form, or if it really is bothering him. I'm not sure. So he's a little bit unknown. Victor Hovland won here last year. He seems to flip a switch when we hit the postseason. I think he's in play at around 15-1. Billy Horschel, who won here in 2014, he's been red hot this summer. I think he's in play at about 35-1. And then if you want to take a couple of shots with some long bombs, Aaron Rye around 50-1, who's also been red hot this summer, comes off of a win recently. And then finally, Christian Bezuidenhout at about 70-1. Those might be some flyers you could take for guys to have the low 72-hole score, again, in the markets without the extra strokes. But I didn't really get involved in that because I told you there's unknown there. I mean, we never know, right? That's why they play the games. That's what they say. But I feel more confident in betting the market with the strokes added and taking one of the front runners in Schauffele or Scheffler. I wouldn't have a problem betting on either one. I think it's a 50-50 shot, basically, maybe a little edge in my mind towards Schauffele. But I think you're looking at pretty much of a toss-up between the two guys at the top in the market with the strokes.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much formatted for that 50-50 opportunity. Very quickly, because we've got less than a minute, but I always love asking you this, Brady. What are the top things that you should look for on a course like this specifically? You've always gauged us on how to look at the courses.
Yeah, I think driving accuracy trumps driving distance. I think you want to, it is a long course at almost 7,500 yards and a par 71. And we've seen long hitters win here before, but I think accuracy is a little better to have in your bag than power off the tee this week. And you're going to need to be a great scrambler. Donald Ross is the designer here. We have those shaved runoff areas. You're going to have to be really creative around the greens and be able to get up and down the greens in regulation.
One of the best things to always find out outside of those best bets and odds. Brady, thank you so much for joining us. Stick with us because after this quick break, we've got more MLB to get into and more Wednesday winners.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
back at it here on Game Time Decisions at SportsGrid TV. And as I promised, we've got an MLB late slate, some more winners, and I'm seeing a WNBA play card here for Scott Wetzel. So I'm excited to dive into his best picks, his best bets, and his insight throughout the late slate in the WNBA. But before we dive into Scott's play card and all of his insight and expertise, we're going to get some quick updates here really fast. We got the Athletics adding to the tally. They're sitting atop the Reds, 2-0, bottom of the fifth. Heading over to that Yankees-Nationals game. I don't even mean to laugh at this point. As you guys know, me and Adam were talking about it. We've been burned by the Yankees before. Yankees fans, I know that you have dealt with this quite a bit. And as of right now, Yankees are falling short to the Nationals 4-1. When we're looking into this, you've got Rodon with 4 strikeouts so far. You've got Gore with 4 strikeouts equally as well. But then Cruz's home run did some damage. Shapiro did some damage. And then you've got James Wood, who is totally racking up when it comes to the Nationals. Then let's see if anything moved on the scoreboard for us. Red Sox still up 1-0 versus the Blue Jays, bottom of the second now. As for that Yankees-Nationals game, really quick, it is midway through the third inning. And now we finally have some action for the Braves versus the Twins. Braves up 1-0 on the Twins. And it's going to be Jorge Soler with the home run for the Braves to get the action going there. So far, no other movement going on in the MLB outside of that, but we do have a large swing coming in tonight. Padres versus Cardinals, 7:45. Giants, Brewers, 8:10. Rangers, White Sox, 8:10. Also, Marlins, Rockies. Adam gave us some rundown for that, 8:40. Mets versus Diamondbacks, 9:40. Oilers versus Dodgers to close out the night. Then, for the WNBA, really fast. In that second quarter, you've got the Fever maintaining their intensity. They are leading right now 51-42. So far, you got Alyssa Thompson for the Sun with 9 points, which she's leading or tied for with Taisha Harris. But then on the Fever side, Caitlin Clark having herself a night so far. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 10 points. Matching that energy, Lexi Hall. She's got 3 rebounds and 10 points as well. And then you can't talk about the Fever without talking about Kelsey Mitchell. She's sitting at 13 points. I had her as a potential 15-plus points. Obviously, something that we have plenty of time to get to before they even get to that third quarter that I feel so confident about. Roughly 2 minutes left in that second quarter before they hit halftime. But it's time for us to get some Wednesday winners from Scott. Scott, how's it going so far on this Wednesday? Do you want to start with the MLB or the WNBA? Where are you feeling hottest right now?
We'll pick up from the WNBA. You mentioned it there. So they're a nice little slate of games, actually, tonight. I'm going to isolate in 2 of them. 1 game, 1 prop. I'm going to go a little public here with the prop. We'll start with the game case. We'll go with Chicago +2 versus Washington. Chicago battling for one of those final playoff spots. Washington's actually playing good, but I'm going to use that against them because they've won 2 in a row, and they haven't won 3 in a row all season. They won their last game on the road. They haven't won 2 straight road games all season as well, so it's kind of like an they're due, one of the best betting systems and one of the worst. The old they're due for a loss, so let's go with Chicago at home. Getting 2 points, which I'm a little surprised about. And then the prop we're going to use, why not? Caitlin Clark over 19.5 points. She's had 20 points or more in 6 of her last games. And the 2 that she didn't had 19 points. So she's right there. She's, eclipsed this number a lot. Her scoring is definitely picked up. So I think we're getting a break, 19.5 points, Caitlin Clark with Connecticut in town, Indiana at home.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that one because Caitlin Clark has only not been showing up, but I feel like she's gotten better since Kelsey Mitchell has been that hot as well. They've got a nice little healthy within competition going on because Mitchell has been showing up tremendously, which only pushes Caitlin Clark. Kind of sliding over to some of your MLB stuff for the night. Anything within the White Sox game that you are looking towards?
Yeah, first game just ended. There were literally, Case, about 10 people. Someone sent a picture out on Twitter, because remember, they picked up the suspended game from last night. There were I swear, it seemed like there were 10 people. There were more people at an Oakland A's game than for this, finished up game. So Texas won that one 3-1. Now we're going to play right on the Rangers for the regularly scheduled contest. Listen, there's 1,000 reasons why you can bet against the White Sox, but none better than the fact that Chris Flexen is on the hill. White Sox in his 27 starts are 2-25 this year, including 19 straight losses when this guy is on the hill. I mean, it is amazing. The fact that we're getting Texas at less than 2-1 is a minor miracle with the boys in Vegas. White Sox 5-38 now, their last 43 games. Just keep betting against them. We'll start there. Got to grab the Mets later on tonight against Arizona, Case. You know, Arizona's playing terrific since the All-Star break. No two ways about it. But one team they can't beat historically, it's the New York Mets, who won again last night. Mets are now 28-10 their last 38 games against Arizona, including 8-2 in Arizona. If you've ever been out there for a Mets game, a lot of transplanted New Yorkers, half the building is filled with Met fans, so it's not a surprise. But keep playing the Mets. You're getting plus odds, plus 102, plus 110, depending on where you do your shopping. Got to grab under 7.5 Atlanta, Minnesota. That game just started. Atlanta, big monster under team, 20-plus more unders than overs. Last two games did go over, so again, they're kind of due for a nice little under. Got to grab the Padres, minus 130 at St. Louis. San Diego, 24-9. Their last 33 games, including 6-1, last 7 on the road against winning home teams, as the Cardinals are. And in the last one, over 4.5 Baltimore runs. We're not going to worry about beating the Dodgers Case. They're going up against Walker Buehler, who in 2 starts since coming off the disabled list has given up 7 runs in 7 1/3 innings. So forget about having a win. Maybe they lose a shootout 8-6, but I'll grab Baltimore over 4.5 runs.
I actually really like that play. I know a number of people that snagged Baltimore on the money line for a small little upset. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and had some fun with that one. But great Wednesday winners for this rundown, Scott. I appreciate you being able to jump in and add that for us. And you guys want to stick around after we're done here at Game Time Decisions, because Scott's going to have more MLB late slate, more NFL, and getting on this tour championship conversation. So stick with us on the other side as we get ready to wrap here at Game Time Decisions.
Mike Tomlin could have very easily put this to rest and say that, Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback.
Mike Tomlin's going to look at, hey, Russell Wilson led that clean drive. I think that separates him enough to give him the starting job. But I think you're right that the leash is going to be pretty short. And if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, Steelers fans pretty quickly are going to be calling for Justin Fields because of his scrambling ability.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter, because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead, because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan to believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
We're back at it here for the final stretch of Game Time decisions on SportsGrid TV. And you've got a lot of Wednesday winners to continue to get you through the night. But in-game live primetime will continue on with all of the best play cards, best bets, angles, and so much more. But like I said, we've got a final inning here. So for movement going on in the MLB, Athletics continuing to take off with their game. You got a 3-0 lead going on versus the Reds. I mean, I know a lot of people weren't really on the Reds to be super successful, but I think they're a little shaken up with losing some guys to injury. You got Lawrence Butler picking up a home run after 3 times at bat. You've got Brent Rooker with a home run and an RBI. I had him on my sheet for a hit and a run. So far, he's looking good on the night. Then adding to the tally, you got Seth Brown with a home run for the Athletics to be leading the Reds 3-0 currently on this Wednesday night. Maybe good news in this aspect. You've got no more movement specifically between the Yankees and the Nationals, but we know that with baseball, things can change in a second. They are sitting at the top of the 4th, score sitting at 4-1 Nationals. Nationals playing better at home. Good on them. Not much movement going on when it comes to the Red Sox versus the Blue Jays. Sox still up 1-0, bottom of the 3rd. Braves sitting up 1-0, bottom of the 1st. 0-0, or actually, no, we now have some movement. Padres versus Cardinals got going. It's top of the 1st. And in order to get the Padres going with a 1-0 lead over the Cardinals, you've got Musgrove on the mound. You've got Profar doing well. You've got Arez doing well. And then you've got Machado with an RBI so far. So this game just got underway. Scott just gave us some of his best bets for some of these late games. Also one within this Padres matchup. Then you've got Giants Brewers getting ready to get underway started. You got Rangers White Sox. You got Marlins versus Rockies, Mets, and Diamondbacks. Scott mentioned the fact that while the Diamondbacks have been hot as of late after the All-Star break, I guess you could say, they have been a tough team to contend with, or vice versa. The Mets have been a tough team to contend with when it comes to going against the Diamondbacks, so that should be an interesting matchup going down at 9:40 tonight. And then once again, closing out the night, Orioles-Dodgers. If you were on top of that Orioles set the other night, it's probably not going to lean that way again, but Scott dropped the knowledge on where his best bets go when it comes to the Orioles versus the Dodgers. Taking it back to the WNBA, Mystiques versus the Sky is getting ready to go and get started here shortly. Tip-off is set for 8 o'clock, and we've had kind of some, I don't want to say contradicting best bets, but you've got some people that have faith in the Sky to be able to either cover the spread or be able to take this one outright. And then you've got the fact that you've got a sickness going around. We don't really know what the case may be. You're just seeing a lot of mask, and you're seeing some injuries and how that might placate into a loss or a win. Liberty versus the Sparks is later on in the slate, taking place at 10 o'clock. And then as for the halftime update when it comes to the Fever versus the Sun, Fever continuing to hold off with a 51-42 lead. Not much changing when it comes to the points. If you guys missed it beforehand in the previous segment, Alyssa Thompson leading with 9 points, or tied at the top for 9 points with the Sun with Taisha Harris. And then you've got Caitlin Clark doing well. We did see that Scott had 19 over for Caitlin Clark, currently sitting at 10 points with a whole second half to go. I hope they maintain this because I just need them to win in the third quarter, and then they can take it from there. Also sitting up there with Caitlin Clark is Kelsey Mitchell with 13 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and then Lexi Hall adding 10 points to the tally herself and 3 rebounds. So the Fever are doing well and progressively continuing to stack offensively as they continue to match up and want to make a contest for being in the playoff, not only playoff conversation because they're already in it, but to be a team that can actually be a formidable team. Let's check any movement going on at the U.S. Open. You got Casper Ruud that closes it out, or it's still moving forward, but up 2 sets. And he's somebody, I think he was sitting at about 4 or 5 when initial outright odds came out for the U.S. Open. He's played entirely well over the season, but again, not one of those guys that I've seen be extraordinary or consistent or a powerhouse on hard courts. So we'll see if his odds get changed around. You got Musetti up 3 sets as well. And then let's see if the other ones got started here. We already talked about Zverev, and we're still just waiting for Berrettini and Fritz to get underway, as well as Dejair and the Joker to close out the night for the U.S. Open. So, great rundown, some Wednesday winners, and all of the best guests that you can imagine. But the fun in the show does not stop here. You've got Scott on the other side here on SportsGrid TV to continue with MLB Best Bets, Wednesday winners, and so much more. Thank you for joining me here on Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8, and I'll catch you guys another time. And to stay tuned here for In-Game Live Primetime with Scott, I'll catch you guys later.